This is
about a girl. Her name is Aeve. Some call her Aeve. This is a story about a girl, and she's part of the plan of God. And nothing can ever separate her from it. She's got bravery. She's not afraid. She's not afraid of what people think. And nothing, her story is...
Hello, Aeve. How are you girls? Doing good? Alright, Aeve. We have a good time today, girls. We continue with the Bible study, Mark. We're going to continue with Mark. And we're talking Mark chapter 12, verse 28 to 34. The greatest commandments for women and men to do. This is something important that Jesus explained. The greatest commandment: love thy God and love thy neighbor. And loving thy neighbor there, Aeve, is what we must always realize, that our neighbors are not the persons who live next to us, in our houses. No. Love thy neighbors is loving all those who are near around us. Something very good, something very important. And it's important, Aeve, that we must love every being that's near us. Everyone. Every being that is near us is someone that counts as someone we have to love, just like we love God. Now that's hard for some people. It's hard for some people. To love a stranger, it's hard. Next, Mark chapter 12, verse 38 to 40. Watch out for teachers of the law. And this is like the other verses, that we have some teachers of the law who are something too strict. And some of them want to take advantage of the law to do something wrong. And it's something that we have to be careful with. Some churches, we know some here in Sheep City, we know that some people here, they have bad intentions, and about some pastors here who do something that they shouldn't be doing with new methods of using rocks, or using sometimes things that we should not be talking about at church, that some pastors just do it for the money, and they're not really doing things for the Lord, for really loving God and worshiping Him like God says in the Bible. Next, we have Mark chapter 13, verse 1 to 31. Signs of the end time. And this is something important that Jesus explains here, that the end times is coming, and that He was sent here. He is here as an example that when Jesus Christ comes again, Jesus will do His miracles to save humanity. As the God who will come here to save, and prophecy will be complete that He is the King who returns. And this is applied for women and man, that He is the King who returns, and He is the prophesied one that will release and save humanity. Next, we go to Mark chapter 13, verse 32 to 37. This is important. Mark chapter 13, verse 32 to 37. The day and hour is unknown. And again, this is talking about prophecy, applied for women and men, that Jesus tells us that the time when He comes and arrives, people won't know. And when He will come when you least expect it, Aeve. And it's a good thing. And our Jesus, Lord, our Christ, He will make it all happen, that He wants us to grow and to be wise, to look at all the biblical scripture that tells about the end times, and to see when the world does all those things that will happen. Because we know that even today, there's so many times that people say the end times were coming, and it has not come. But we know that one day it will come, and when we least expect it. Let us be wise, Aeve. Let us be wise, girls. Like that parable of the virgin girls who had their lamps, turned on. And you have to be careful not to be like that, because we have to be always watching, be vigilant. Because the worshippers of the God of Israel, the real worshippers, will always be watching, and no matter what they called them, if they called them they were wrong, if they were sometimes heretic or behaving with so much fear, we have to be always wise people. The Christians don't have fear. They know that Jesus arrives, He will save them. But to always pay attention to when God does things in the world, in the real world. And to be always pay attention when things go wrong, to do what the things in the Bible do, because that's what the real worshippers of God will do. not of fear, but always obeying and being faithful to the Lord in all times. Mark chapter 16 verse 14 to 20. Here a message of salvation for all from Jesus, where he tells his disciples that to go preach the word, and that's for all humanity to hear that they can be saved. There's a lot of people out there that still don't know the Bible, and there are so many people, even Christians, who are trying to stop preaching the word. They don't believe in the end times. They don't want to talk about those things, about revelations. I remember a time back they used to call it apocalypse, but later on they changed it. Well, something I don't agree very much. But still, we wait for the end times, and we will talk about the end times later on, maybe. Very soon. And it's a good thing. We have advanced, and that's a good thing. You know, girls, I want to talk to you about someone. You know, my friend, Steve Freeman. I was talking to some friends, in the streets, to Sarge. And we were talking, sometimes I talk with my cop friends. Very important things, maybe. We talked about a lot of things. And I saw my friend Steve Freeman. We were talking about the weather and all that stuff. And I realized Steve Freeman was doing something, but I was, doing my things. I decided to leave him alone. But, one day I'm going to introduce to you girls Steve Freeman. He's a good guy. Steve Freeman was the average person, I'll tell you. He's an important person here in Sip City. He does everything normal. He works with his family. He loves his family. And he's a good man, maybe. He does things like every person does. I'll tell you something. Steve was a good Christian. He was a Christian for a long time with us. Believe me, maybe. He had a hard time. He grew up in his neighborhood. He didn't like living poor, but he was a good person. He was an honest worker. Many times he had problems in his life, but he had problems like everybody else. Sometimes Steve had an attitude, maybe. Sometimes he yells at people a lot. He gets angry for things that people shouldn't get angry. But Steve, he had his wife. He loved her very much. They're still married for the last 40 years. Had their quarrels and everything, maybe. I'll tell you. And, Steve had a good time living his life. He sold things. He had many jobs. He worked inside a store. He was, manager of a store. He did a lot of things, maybe. He was a good man. And sometimes he always talked to me and told me why he existed, why it was the meaning of life. He didn't know. It always bothered him so much that so many problems exist in life. Sometimes he told me he hated his life, maybe. And Freeman, he was a good man. He knew Pastor Jackson. And Jackson liked Freeman. It's something hard, maybe. For him, life was complicated. He couldn't do many things. He was average, maybe. He was a normal person. I tell you, maybe, because his life, he was a person that didn't care about others. He's a person that worked hard. He didn't do things for others. But he was always attending church. He was doing things normal. Life made so many changes to him. He grew in a time in the 80s and 90s when he still didn't know many things about God, went to church. He wanted to know why he was here. He wanted to know he loved people, but sometimes he suffered a lot of life. People stole from him, maybe. They did wrong to him. He got back to them. A lot of things happened in his life. Later he repented. But still, Freeman, he did a lot of work. He dedicated himself to making shops and stores and, make successful business. He was a good manager. And all his lifetime, he wanted to do something. Build a library, build a church, he told me. He wanted a purpose in life. It wasn't easy for him. And he suffered a lot because he doesn't know why he was here. And even though he had problems, he told me after 40 years, 50 years of his life, he always had an anger problem. He was angry all the time. 20 years of his sufferment, he was angry. Sometimes he argued with his wife for no reason. Well, one day he realized he wasn't angry anymore. He told me. He finally realized he was happy being a Christian. He finally realized after all his sufferment, after being selfish, after everything, he realized he stopped being angry and told himself that he doesn't hate the world. He stops being angry against it. He always respected God and feared Him, but he hates how the world is. He hates how life is. He hated his life, sometimes he told me. And he finally told me that after being a Christian, he finally found that he was happy, that he found life. That after so many hardships, he wanted to change. And that he finally realized that he wanted to try new things. He was afraid of trying new things, maybe. He was a good man, finally. He found out that he was happy. That he found out that he can do things for friends and people. He accepted others. He realized he wanted to be friends of everybody. And after all his suffering about everything, that he found God, he realized that he wanted others to have that too. That to have that love and to be in Christ, he realized he wanted people to go to heaven. Finally, Freeman wasn't selfish. Oh, you don't know him, maybe. Me and my friends, when he changed some years ago, we were really all surprised at him. He was always selfish. Sometimes he was greedy. But when we see someone like that change, and he finally changed to become the person he was meant to be God's people, and he wanted to finally change and be happy, and that he was no longer angry. He told me that. For me, that was a miracle inside his life. Finally, Freeman did all the things he wanted. He was finally free. And it was hard for him, maybe. It was hard for him. And sometimes we all have lives like that. But it's hard for someone, but especially one that finally finds out that he didn't want to keep things to himself. He wanted others to have that love, to have that freedom, wanted to be inside God's kingdom. And he realized that he would give everything in his life so others can achieve it. He was no longer selfish. He wanted everybody to have his life so they can make it into heaven. That's important, Aeve. It's hard for people to get there. And I know, Aeve, you're still young, and maybe a lot of people here don't know that thing. They don't know that. Because that takes a lot of time for a person to finally be wise and mature, to be loving, that he wanted to love like Jesus. He finally threw all the things he learned from the world and realized he wanted to do everything so people can achieve and go to heaven, and that they reach all the things that he has finally reached, and he wanted to share that. That's important. One day you'll see that's important. Later on, I'm gonna show you. We'll talk to him later. I'll talk to you girls later. Later you tell me what you think about Mark. We're finally finishing the chapter.